Protect your dignity because no one else will. Your dignity is yours to protect. No one else will do it for you. But here's the problem. Some people seem to make tearing others down their full-time job. You know the ones. The person who slips in a sarcastic remark at dinner, takes a cheap shot in a meeting, or cracks a joke at your expense, leaving you feeling small. And in that moment, there's silence. That burning feeling in your chest. You smile like it's fine, but deep down, you're asking yourself, why me? The truth? It's not you. It's them. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why they do it. 6 reasons to be precise. More importantly, I'll show you how Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of unshakable self-control, can help you rise above it. No yelling, no revenge plots, as tempting as they may be, just calm, unwavering strength. If you're tired of swallowing your pride and ready to stand tall, stick with me. If this resonates with you, I just ask one small favour. Hit that subscribe button. It truly means a lot. Reason 1. They sense weakness. Some people test others the way predators test prey. They don't announce themselves. They watch. They wait. And the moment they sense doubt, the second they see you hesitate about your own worth, they strike. Sometimes with a comment disguised as humour. Sometimes with a subtle jab that cuts deeper than you'd like to admit. And if you let it slide, if you sit there pretending it doesn't bother you, they take it as an invitation to go further. I've been there. Early in my career, I worked under a manager who had a cruel kind of wit, the kind that found your insecurities and pressed on them hard. In meetings, he'd throw out remarks like, maybe this is a little advanced for you, or we'll let you catch up later, always with that smug grin. At first I laughed along because everyone else did. I told myself not to take it personally, but I did. And every time I stayed silent, it got worse. Because people like that aren't careless, they're deliberate. They're testing how much you'll tolerate, and when you show them you'll tolerate disrespect, you train them to keep going. This is where Stoicism comes in. Not as cold detachment, but as control over what truly matters. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't stop someone from being rude, you can't prevent every insult or passive-aggressive remark, but you can decide how much power their words hold over you. And here's the hard truth, if you don't respect yourself, no one else will. People push boundaries to see where the line is. If they don't find one, they assume they can walk all over you. It's not always malice, it's often just opportunity. And they'll take it until you take it back. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean confrontation. It doesn't mean shouting or getting into arguments. Sometimes it's as simple as not laughing when the joke is at your expense. Sometimes it's meeting their gaze and letting silence say what words don't have to. Sometimes it's walking away from people who don't respect you. Without apology, without explanation. That's Stoic strength. Not because it's emotionless, but because it's disciplined. You don't need to fight for your dignity, you just need to refuse to give it away. And when you do, everything changes. The people who used to test you hesitate. They move on because they were looking for an easy target and you're not one anymore. And here's the deeper truth. The respect you gain when you stand tall isn't just from others, it's from yourself. You start to trust your own strength. You realize that you don't need to control the world to have power. You just need to control your response to it. That's what Stoicism offers you. Not a shield to hide behind, but the armor to walk through life unshaken. Reason number 2, they want control. Humiliation has always been a tool of control, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp and obvious, but always with the same purpose, to make you feel small, so that someone else can feel big. When someone mocks you in public, when they expose something personal they have no right to share, when they throw a cutting remark across a room, it's not just about the words, it's about power. They want you to shrink, because if you shrink they can stand taller in comparison. But here's something most people don't realize. Those who humiliate others are often carrying their own brokenness. They feel powerless in their own lives. And instead of facing that, instead of healing, they reach for the easiest way to feel strong, by making someone else feel weak. I remember working with a colleague who was a master at this. She had a way of putting people in their place, always with a laugh, as if that made it okay. One afternoon, during a team meeting, I presented an idea I had spent weeks refining. Without hesitation, she cut me off with a sarcastic comment. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room. It wasn't jerk, yeah. Those who use humiliation as a weapon reveal who they are. But your response, that reveals who you are. And when you choose clarity over confusion, dignity over defensiveness, and control over your own mind, you'll find that those who try to bring you down lose interest. You are not weak, you are not prey, you are someone who cannot be controlled because you control yourself. That is the true gift of Stoicism. It does not offer a shield to block out harsh words. Instead, it gives you a mindset so strong and clear that those words pass through you, leaving no trace. They only have weight if you choose to hold on to them. They humiliate you because they envy you. This is a difficult truth to accept, but one you must understand. Sometimes people humiliate you not because you are flawed, but because something within them is unsettled. Your strength, confidence, and success remind them of what they lack, and rather than rising to meet that standard, they choose the easier path. They try to pull you down. Psychologists call this malicious envy. It is a destructive form of jealousy, far more toxic than ordinary envy. Studies show that malicious envy often triggers schadenfreude, a dark satisfaction when the person they envy stumbles or fails. These people do not try to humiliate you because they believe you are weak. They do it because they know you are not. Your presence makes them feel small, not because you diminish them, but because it forces them to confront their own shortcomings. Seneca understood this when he wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." A person can have everything, money, power, influence, but still live in poverty if their soul is starved for peace. And when people lack that inner fulfillment, they strike at others, hoping to fill their emptiness by diminishing someone else. They try to destroy the light in others because finding their own seems too difficult. Once you grasp this, everything shifts. The shame you once felt in these moments begins to fade. You stop wondering if you are the problem. You stop carrying their bitterness as your burden. And instead of feeling hurt, you might even feel pity. Not in a superior way, but with a calm understanding that they are battling their own demons, ones that have nothing to do with you. Stoicism teaches that you cannot control the actions of others, but you can control how you interpret them. When someone tries to humiliate you out of envy, do not shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Do not dim your light to soothe their insecurity. Stand firm in who you are. Their inability to stand beside you is not your responsibility. It never was. Set boundaries, or others will set them for you. If you do not make it clear what you will and will not accept, people will push your limits, and they won't always do it with malicious intent, at least not at first. Humans naturally test boundaries, sometimes consciously, sometimes without even realizing it. They want to see where the line is, and if they don't find one, they assume there isn't one. It starts subtly, a joke at your expense, a casual disregard for your time. And because you tell yourself it's not worth the trouble, you stay silent, you let it go, but it doesn't stop there. Little by little, they take up more space in your life, and one day you look around and realize you are standing in a place that no longer feels like your own. The things that once seemed obvious, that you deserve respect, that your time and feelings matter, are no longer the rules by which the relationship operates. Disrespect has become normal. And when you ask yourself how it got to this point, the answer is clear. It began the moment you failed to say, enough. This is why Epictetus warned, you must teach people how to treat you. You do not owe anyone endless patience. You do not have to tolerate what disrespects you. Setting boundaries is not about conflict, it is about self-respect. And when you enforce those boundaries, with quiet confidence, the right people will respect them. And those who don't, they were never meant to stay. The choice is always yours. ChatGPT said, "The strength to stand alone. Why true power comes from within. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Epictetus. At first glance, this statement may seem severe, even harsh, but within it lies a truth that many people avoid. Growth, real, meaningful growth, often requires you to risk being misunderstood, judged, or even ridiculed. Setting boundaries and standing firm in your beliefs comes with a cost. Some will perceive you as difficult, arrogant, or unkind, especially those who benefited from your silence. But the pursuit of peace and the pursuit of approval rarely coexist. If you live your life constantly seeking validation, you will find yourself bending to the expectations of others, sacrificing your authenticity in the process. Stoicism teaches us that as First Lady, she faced intense criticism. She was mocked for her appearance, for her strong opinions, for her activism. Society was not accustomed to a woman stepping outside the role it had assigned to her. Many sought to humiliate her, to make her feel small once again. But by then, she had already done the work of defining herself. The insults that once might have wounded her now had nowhere to land. She knew her worth, and because of that, no one could take it from her. That is what Stoicism teaches us, that no one can humiliate you without your consent. That real freedom, as Epictetus said, is mastery over yourself. You do not gain this mastery by fighting back against every insult or by trying to silence every critic. You gain it by refusing to grant them authority over how you see yourself. When you know your worth, something profound happens. Insults become meaningless. Jokes become empty noise. Even admiration does not sway you because your self-respect does not depend on whether others recognize it. How to build unshakable self-worth. But let's be honest, this is not easy. It takes work, it takes time, it takes deep reflection and radical honesty. You must be willing to ask yourself hard questions. Who am I, apart from the opinions of others? What do I truly stand for? What are the lies I have believed about myself, and where did they come from? Self-worth is not something you are born with fully formed. It is something you build. And like anything worth building, it requires effort. It requires a willingness to stand alone when no one else seems to understand. But there is no shortcut to real freedom. You cannot beg people to respect you. You must claim it, quietly, without permission. And when you do, something powerful happens. The people who once tried to humiliate you lose interest. The words they used to cut you no longer find a place to land. You become, in the deepest sense, untouchable. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. The final truth, you do not dim your light for anyone. So here is the truth. People will try to humiliate you. Some will test you, some will envy you, and a few will do it simply because they cannot handle your light. But that is not your concern. You are not here to dim yourself for anyone, not anymore. You are not someone who begs for respect. You command it, not with arrogance, not with force, but with quiet, unwavering self-respect. And if that means standing alone, so be it. That is the Stoic way. When you stand your ground, when you refuse to believe the lies meant to make you small, something incredible happens. You become untouchable, not because the world is kind, but because you are strong. If you are ready to live with that quiet power, to rise above the noise, I invite you to take this journey with me. Subscribe, tap that bell, join a community that is learning to stand tall, no matter who tries to pull them down. And remember, the world does not give you dignity. You give it to yourself, and that is something no one can take away. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.